Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy Trade with Zay, back at it again with another video. And in today's video, we're gonna go over how I didn't catch this trade, but I caught this trade, but I ain't made no money. So let's get right into it. So this is basically my overall chart, and let's see how we can, recreate this. So basically, reset, go back to today. Go back to it. All right, so cool. So let's hop on the 15-minute time frame. Let's see what we're doing. So honestly, when I woke up and looked at the market, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just let price do what it's gotta do. I'm gonna wait until about like 9 o'clock, 9:30 to start looking for entries, because at 8 to 9, I really want to just build a story. So we're just gonna, just see what's going on once 9 o'clock comes. Okay, as you can see here, we made a breaker structure to the upside. Okay, so let's go ahead and build our narrative. So we're on the 5-minute time frame. We just made a breaker structure. We could say this is a 15-minute breaker structure, higher high, and this is the higher low. Wrong one. Okay. All right, so that's the higher low. So now I'm just, I'm still waiting for 9 to 9:30. So bam, I can see a little demand play. I'm still waiting patiently. It taps, it expands. I see another play. If it comes back in and taps that demand like it did right there, you can potentially look for buys, but I was still being patient. I didn't want to take this trade, even though it's 9. I didn't want to take this trade because we were overextended. See, if I draw a Fibonacci from here to here, anything above 50% is in premium, which means you should be looking for sales. Price is expensive. You're supposed to, sell premium into discount, buy when it's in discount. But at the time, we're currently in premium. So this is what I did. I drew a fib. I seen, okay, we're overextended. Price can make a little pullback. As you can see here, it ended up playing out. That's cool. We're being patient. So, I let price do its thing. All right, so bam. So before I show this candle. All right, so we're gonna hop on the 1-minute time frame now. So basically we can see here that when we were coming up 5-minute higher high, then you made a higher low. What confirms this higher low was that price came above here, broke to the upside, right? Price then, I probably should have said this while, price was playing out, but bam, this is the highest point. It pulls back and then it breaks. So it's gonna be our higher low. This was the point right here. It broke to the upside, pulled back right here, and then broke again. So essentially it's just something like this, basically. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this. All right, so we're gonna name this the 15-minute higher high because we gotta change the structure to the downside. So this is our first indication that price could go down, because as you can remember, 15-minute structure, which would be, I guess you could say, bam, 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 it's bullish, right? In here, it was bullish because, it went up, but now you get the first change that it could possibly go down. So what I did is that I waited, I waited, bam. So I waited patiently for price to tell me that, it was ready to go down. So 5 minutes, this is a lower low. And since, Since it made a lower low, this should be your higher low. I mean your lower high, my bad, lower high. And then now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this a little over here, right? We're gonna drop another fib. That's what I did. I drew a fib from here to here. Initially I had my fib here, but the reason why I had it up here was just in case price did like a liquidity grab. You know, I was gonna have my stop loss up here, but then I was kind of looking at it. I looked at it on the 5-minute time frame, and then I noticed, let me delete this for y'all real quick. I noticed that it was, you could say, a supply zone right here. You know, last up candle before it broke structure to the downside, which is here, which would be your supply. Now we're just waiting for it to tap back in, you know, tap a fib level. Then, you know, we can pop an entry. So let's play this out. All right, so now that price is retracing back up into the supply zone, this is my fib level now. You can start looking for entries. I like to do 0.61. Your first target would be down here. Well, technically for me, first target would be a 1-to-1. Second target would be the low that it made, and then anything after that, that's, you know, that's just collecting the crumbs. So what I personally did was, since when price was coming up, I was still debating on where I had my fib zone, but once I got locked in, I seen that price had tap 0.7, and like on the seconds it started retracing back down. So as soon as price like started showing that momentum, I popped the celly. Something like that. All right, bam. So bam, I was in. My 1-to-1 was here. It was like around there, but when I popped my trade, I did 0.5 of my risk. So I only risked half of what I was supposed to risk, because I kind of like, you know, wasn't seeing the picture right. So I popped one entry. It was gonna be $100 on my funded, bam. And then I was supposed to look for another entry. Well, I was supposed to add onto it. It was right here. On the seconds, price came down and then, you know, pulled back up, and I was supposed to pop another entry right there, but I hesitated. Ain't gonna lie, I did hesitate. So I'm in this trade for $100. You know, I see the 100, I see like 140, and it actually goes to TP2 right here. This is like my TP2, TP3, whatever. You know, after the 1-to-1, TP1, TP2, and then since I was only at, you know, since I was only risking half of what I needed to do, I had to extended my take profit for like the 1-to-2, so I could meet my profit target at $200 for alpha futures, so I can have that day. That's the last day I need. But you know, as soon as the 1-to-1 got hit, I went stop loss break even. I was like, fuck that, I'm not gonna lose any money. Worst case scenario, it hits BE, or best case scenario, it hits for 200. So I'm gonna play this out. Price then, you know, retraces back up. I'm like, shit, is it gonna hit my break even? And then price goes down. And I'm like, okay. And then I see it retrace back up, and I'm like, okay, let's see what the sellers are doing. Sellers are looking strong. Okay, got it. I kind of don't like it because it is consolidating. Sellers are still kind of there. And I seen this right here, and I was like, fuck, it's okay. It is what it is. I followed my plan, basically. The only thing where I didn't follow my plan was risking what I had to risk, which was my $200. And then if I risked $200, when it hit 101, I was going to take either one contract off or both of them, you know, just to secure that $200 day. Just go ahead, get that shit out the way, which I should have done, but I didn't. Instead, I went for a 1-to-2. I mean, which is valid, you know, I moved my stops after, you know, it broke structure again. I don't know if y'all peeped that. I'm pretty sure y'all did, but bam, you know, it broke structure again. So then that would make this my protected high. Where is it? The higher low, lower high, my bad. Lower high. And then, you know, this is your lowest low for right now, lowest low. But price ended up retracing back up. It used this as liquidity, which I did kind of see, but so it used this as liquidity, and the reason why I did was it, you know, fake out the buyers that were trying to buy from like a demand right here. It was printing good structure, it was printing good structure and everything. You know, it trapped the sellers right here, still in the supply zone, you know. And then TP2 and, you know, my target, my 1 to 2 ends up getting hit after I got stopped out at break even, unfortunately. But, you know, that was my only trade for the day. I just called it. But then, you know, since, you know, I just called it a day, I just decided just to forward test now, because my high probability trade is the buy, because 15-minute structure is bullish. I see here that price retraced into 0.7 of that 15-minute range. This is a demand zone. You know, it could be a demand zone right here. Tap perfectly. And then this is how you would go if you were looking for, you know, entries. So, all right, so let's say you didn't take any trades, and now is your opportunity that you're looking for buys. It's tap your zone, tap your demand. Now what I would do is I would start marking up structure. So this would be my point right here, 5-minute lower low, and then this would be my 5-minute lower high, and then this would be my, you know, 5-minute lower low. All right, so when price ticks out or higher or low, what tends to happen is that price tends to pull back. So what I'm trying to get to is structure is bearish, right? Let me draw this out. So structure is bearish. Remember what I just said. So price just broke a low, right? And you just hit a demand. What I just said was after price makes a low or a high, in this case a low, price tends to pull back up from where it came from. So you can start marking up that structure. So bam, bam. On the 1 minute, this would be considered, you know, bullish. You know, you're breaking up again. So you got 1 minute market structure printing higher highs and higher lows. This is a little bit more advanced, but if you're following through, then you're doing a good job. This is my higher low. So now if you're looking for an entry, same thing. So bam, broke a low in demand, price is gonna retrace back up. It's giving you that structure. Now what you would do is draw my fib, draw the, you know, this could be a demand zone. Same thing what you do on higher time frame, same thing what you do on lower time frame. The markets is fractal. All right, don't forget that. Don't forget that. Higher time frame is gonna hold more weight, but you know, bam. All right, so we got a demand, 1 minute demand, breaking structure with a FVG. You know, you could get a buy-in once it taps in there, or not. But initially, that's what you would do. So you would wait for that structure to print. So you could have said like right there. Let's say if you were quicker with it, you know, you could have caught an entry in here, you know, after you got that internally right there, that bullish structure. Once it pulls back and you start seeing on the lower time frames, on the seconds that you start seeing that momentum going back up, place that buy and, you know, hope for the best, I guess. You know, hopefully that shit goes your way. But if I play this out, I'm gonna just delete that and show y'all what happened. Let's see, you can pause. Yeah, all right, so look. All right, so let's say you missed these entries. Since you broke that 5 minute lower high, now your 5 minute is bullish. I know this is kind of everywhere and didn't kind of explain everything, but you know, I could go into more detail somewhere else. All right, so I guess you could say something like this: higher low, and this will be your higher high. All right, bet. So same thing. So we're in bullish structure coming from that demand. You know, we've been pulling back, mitigating, whatever. I draw my fib. You got low. This is perfect. Look, you got that FVG, you know, displacement. It taps. You start seeing that bullish momentum. Pop that entry. This is 1-to-1 is your first target. You know, wherever you pop their entry, or this could be your, you know, your first target, second target, you know, whatever. But overall target is the 15-minute high, since we're in 15-minute bullish structure. So let's see what happens. So bam, we get the break of the candle to the upside. It pulls back. If you're a little bit more conservative, you could pop an entry somewhere in there. And bam, it continues the 5-minute bullish structure. So this is your lowest point right here after, you know, after the break. So this is your 5-minute higher low. If you want to look for entry, you do the same thing. You just, this is what I do. I just draw a fib, pull it up, wait for that thing to pull back, and then, you know, you can decide on where you want to take your entries. You either take entries at 0.5, 0.61 is better, 0.7 is even better, 0.79, etc., etc. Or you can wait for this on the lower time frames for the structure to shift. So you could pop the entry right there, breaking structure to the upside, right there. Stop loss would be right here. And then let's say if you didn't catch that one, you could have caught this one. And then yeah, price ends up targeting that 5-minute higher high. 5-minute higher high. So this is looking really good. Really clean structure today, honestly. And then, you know, same thing. If you wanted to, you know, continue popping entries, or you missed your entry, this be another opportunity for you before it hits the target. So that's the higher low. And this is your target. This is your higher high. So you wait for price to pull back. I like to see it come back to 0.61, 0.7. I see that. I'm gonna wait for that bullish pressure to come in. I could pop right there. You know, that's still a good level at 0.61. You know, you could have popped bam right there, SL right there, target that. Bam, another break of structure, and then the rest was history. You know, there was multiple entries for you, all that good stuff. Target got hit right there. But yeah, that's basically how today went on how I caught this trade and made no money. Forward tested a play here and ended up playing out. And you know, I could have traded this, but this was out of my time frame. The latest I'd pop a trade would be like 10:45, around that time frame, 11 o'clock. It's kind of pushing it, you know, but I mean, it set up perfectly. It's just I called it a day after that break even, and I just decided to come tomorrow. You know, 1 trade a day, 1 to 2 trades. I mean, this was like a mid probability. This was your high probability, and you know, I was okay with taking this risk. It's pretty valid. Went kind of smooth. If I would have had a risk, I would have just called it a day and be happy. I am happy, you know, I follow my rules, I guess you could say. But yeah, guys, that's it for me today. I'm gonna try to upload more videos. I got the mic fixed, I got the webcam up here. And yeah, man, it's just time to turn up, man. It's just time to turn up. If y'all want to see more videos, just give this video a like, subscribe, comment what you want to see. And yeah, man, see you on the next one.